Hello students, welcome to the online tutorial session. In the previous lecture session, we have learned about this file processing system, drawbacks of file processing system that leads to the invention of a database management system. What is database? What is database management system? What is actually the characteristics of the database? So today we will learn about the few components, we can say that how a database can or database management is created or handled. Okay, so DBMS is consisting of three main pillars. Okay, I'm writing this one. DBMS is consist of three main pillars. Okay, one is the administrator. I'm writing ADMN, that is for admin. Okay, designer, and one is the end user. Okay, who are actually those person? Who is administrator? Who is designer? And who is this end users? Okay, so there is a classification is there. Okay, there are under user. There are multiple different database users are there. Okay, so let's first discuss about this user point of view. Okay, user are actually who are handling those application programs. Okay, so how many users are there? There are four type of users is available. One is the application programmer. These are the people who are engaged in developing the general application program and interfaces to access the database. Okay, so application program are usually written in the basic language like C or Visual Net, something like that. So command in the special data manipulation language are then embedded within this code to access and manipulate this database. So first kind of a user is the application programmer. Next is a sophisticated user. So these are the people who interact with the database without writing the application program. Okay, so application programmer needs to write the code so that they can access the information from the database. But the sophisticated user don't need to write down any application program. But by the requesting information from the database using the query, they actually try to access the information or get the information by raising the query. Okay, this queries are written in database query language, that is SQL, structured query language they are using to retrieve the information, that is a desired information. Okay, analyst who may be required to analyze the data based on the certain criteria and the generate the special report falls under this category. So these are actually the number of people who have this kind of a access. Okay, now number 3, it is a specialized user. Okay, so these people are engaged in writing specialized database application program involved in complex data structure. So what actually means by complex data structure? When we are actually talking about this architecture of a DBMS, that point of time you are able to understand the complexity of a architecture or something like that. Okay, so complex data structure is involved how to store the graphics information, or how to store the audio video information, and then depending upon this we have to design our application program. So it is a bit difficult, the architecture. So later in the lecture session we will discuss about this. So sophisticated user actually writing a specialized application program. Now fourth is actually the inexperienced user. These are the end user like us. Okay, end user who interact with the database through the permanent application program like graphical menu driven interface in a railway inquiry system. You are supposed to, if you want to book a ticket, then there you have to put a source, you have to select the source from where you are starting your destination and from this list, and the number of seat you have to select depending upon the fare will be. So it is actually a graphical window is in front of you. Menu driven program is designed for you. From that you can select and you can access. So we are at the inexperience, we don't know what is going in through this DBMS, how we are getting this information, we don't know. We are actually only using this applications program. So end user, or you can say it is an inexperienced user. There are the four types of users are actually there in the DBMS. Okay. Now coming to the part that is administrator. Okay, so administrator maintain the DBMS and the responsible for administrating the database. They are responsible to look after the users by whom it should be used. They create an access profile for the user and apply the limitation to maintain the isolation and the force security. Administrator also look after the DBMS resources like system license, required tools, or other software and hardware. So the part of what our administrators do, so they will look after the whole procedure. So here also you can say the actually particular designation is a DBA that is database administrator. Okay, so DBA is DBA actually solely responsible for creating this database, how it will be created, how it will be maintained, who will access what kind of information. So all those things are actually under control of an administrator. Okay, so in details, the role of a DBA is there. In details, in the later session, we will discuss. Okay, now comes to the part that is the designer part. So designer are the group of the people who are actually work on the designing part of a database. They keep a close watch on what data should be kept in what format. They identify and assign the whole set of entities, relation, constraint, okay, everything. So designer actually they will design the whole database, what kind of a data, how the table will be created, what must be the relationship between two or more tables, how they need to be linked, okay, so that we can retrieve the information whenever it is required. So each and everything related how to make, how to set up a relationship, how to impose the constraint and the criteria, logical criteria. So all these things are imposed by this designer. Okay, so now coming to the part that is the written advantage. End user I have explained. So now it is the advantages of DBMS. Okay, so we have known and what are the limitations we have find it in the DBM in the file processing system. That leads to the actually uses of or invention of a DBMS. So you can say that drawbacks we have transformed and into the advantage part. So what are those advantages over here? That is minimize the data duplication, that data redundancy we have talked in the file managing system. So in DBMS, a particular data is stored centrally in one place. Okay, so and shared in all the applications. So whenever the user runs a query, the DBMS gets the data from the central DBMS. Since a particular data is stored at a single place, storage space is same. So we didn't note because it is a central server. Here all the information, all our information are stored. Okay, and it is distributed among the various application program, AP1, AP2, AP3, AP4, AP5, AP6. These are the application program and this is the central database, DB, central database. So here all the informations are there. Whenever a particular application user actually plays the query to this application program, here the at last user is there. Okay, user is there. User raise the query through the application program. Application program will raise the query to the central DBMS. From the central DBMS, again it will be retrieved back to application program and from application program to the user end. In this way it is done. So there is a short storage is required only if you have kept the information in the central database system. Then no need to store it in the all application programs. Okay. Number 2, data remains together in a database. All the data are stored in a single place called database. So retrieval also be very easy because all the data are over there. So whatever query is coming from there only we can know. We don't need to look everywhere for finding our answers of the query. Okay. So second is second advantage. Now third advantage is data independence. In this database system, the data is stored independent of any application program that uses the data. Application program interacts with DBMS, which in turn interacts with the data in the DBMS. This makes application programs independent of any internal changes made in the DBMS. How the DBMS is created, how it is done, it is doesn't bother. Later on the time, table can be modified, or table structure can be changed, but it doesn't depend upon this. Only they actually concerned about the data. So that is the beauty, that whatever modification is going on internally, it does not affect in the fetching part of our information. Okay, it is only depend upon the data. Dependency is only on the data. Okay. So now 4 is compatibility between different files. In case of file processing, you have said that only one type of extension it can, because suppose a doc, you are placing any information in the document type of extension, the .doc. So we have to making a application program that can handle only document file. But one file is saved in a PDF format, one is in a JPG format, one is in another format, that is in doc format. So we cannot actually capable of building one application in case of file processing system. But in case of DBMS, we have that. Different kind of extension can be can be handled through one single application. Okay. Number 1, better security they are assuring. The central control of a DBMS make it easier to control the physical access to the terminal, storage devices, and specific interfaces. Next 2, that is a co-currency. Co-currency problem is, in case of DBMS, now another one, concurrency is a disadvantage also. User-friendly interface is there, okay. So it is also increase the programmer productivity. So in database approach, the data is separated from the application program that we are using. It makes it easier to write new application program. And I think better enforcement of standards, since the system tables in the database are created at the same time, so standard can be enforced uniformly while making the fields, name, width, etc. Okay. So advantage part is over. Now we are moving forward to the disadvantages part. So first disadvantage is concurrency problem. So in case of DBMS package is not designed for the multiple user. So problem can arise when more than one user wants to access a particular record simultaneously. So the problem of simultaneous accessing the same record in the database is known as concurrency problem. Because suppose application 1 wants to update a data and application 2 wants to write a data on that particular file. So that leads to a concurrency, because update will do first, or first you will write. Because if it is not right, if application 1 is taken the update, then it will get a wrong update. Okay, so that is a concurrency problem is happening over here. Okay, number 2, the main problem of the DBMS, it is a deadlock problem. The concurrency problem can be overcome by locking the record by the user until the transaction is over. If application 2 is in writing the information, then let the application 2 complete the process, then only can application 1 can approve their update request. Okay, so that second user cannot access it at the same time. However, this may lead to another problem called deadlock. What is a deadlock? Suppose application 1 wants a file, application 2 also wants a file, and application 3 also. All the 3 applications want the same file. So they are waiting and they are waiting and waiting. So this waiting can lead actually wastage of time. They are waiting for continuous prolonged period of time. So this situation, each user after locking its record will have to wait indefinitely to access the other record. So this leads to a deadlock condition. Okay, ownership problem. In a file-based system, generally data is in a particular file is handled by a particular individual. But in terms of when the database is created, data is no longer specific property of application user, but instead of own, it is entirely by company. So giving up ownership of a data may be traumatic for any company's employee. Okay, number 4 is a resources problem. When our DBMS is implemented, the amount of data that needed to be accessed and manipulated also increase. To handle this new database, to run the database program, extra resources may be required. So purchasing of extra terminals, printers, storage devices, servers, this is actually add up cost for the DBMS. Okay, I hope the advantage and disadvantage and the components of a DBMS is clear to you. Thank you, student. I'm ending my lecture over here.